My dad was an alcoholic and was pretty verbally abusive to my brother and me and my mom. So we had the turmoil of that, my whole childhood. I started working full-time when I was 13 to kind of help provide for my family and, to be honest, get out of the house more.
I grew up in Columbia. Right before I started school, I moved in with my biological grandfather and his wife. They were mentally and physically abusive to me. When I was 16, this one caseworker, Leanne, she just listened to me well. And she took me away from my grandparents and gave me some time for her to listen to me, but for me to speak about what was going on. Somehow I just gained this trust with her. I just feel like I could tell her anything. And she was actually in the process of fostering, and their family ended up asking me to come and live with them. About 6 months after we met, we were pregnant. It was devastating. I felt like at 16, I was just starting my life, so it definitely wasn't wanted.
As soon as she got out of the car, I could see, her mascara's running, and I just knew what was happening. So she threw a piece of paper at me, and all I can remember is saying that pregnant, check. Selfishly, I wanted to stop it right then, because I'm like, here I am finally trying to get my life together to where I can go do something that I want to do. I wasn't ready to continue that responsibility that I've had since I was 13.
We just decided that it was for the best that we had an abortion. It was scary because we had to go tell my adopted family. One thing about my adopted family is that they're a Christian family. I was terrified of what they were going to think about us and what they were going to say to us. I was thinking that they would be judgmental. I thought that they would hate us, and it was the complete opposite. My adopted parents were understanding and loving, and they tried to redirect us. Instead of saying, "You're not having an abortion," they said, "Would you consider having an ultrasound?"
Something inside her was saying that, I have to go get this ultrasound. When she said that if she saw the ultrasound that she couldn't have an abortion, I knew that at that point that, well, we're going to go through with this. And I felt like, now what? Now I'm going to be tied down for 18 years.
I think my adopted mom talked to the doctor beforehand and just kind of gave some background of what we were thinking and what we were doing, and it just so happens that the doctor was a Christian, and she just lovingly express what it would be like to be parents, and I think that helped with our decision to not have an abortion. Just seeing and hearing our baby's heartbeat, I just instantly fell in love.
I ended up quitting school. I started working full-time and decided that it was time to be a dad, whatever that looked like. There was no talk of we're gonna get married or anything, because at the time she didn't say anything to me. She didn't talk to me. It wasn't anything about marriage or anything like that.
My mom decided to homeschool me. She recommended that we go, as part of my schooling, to the pregnancy center in Columbia. So I reached out to Shay and we started taking parenting classes. The pregnancy center helped just get me out of the funk that I was in. I was still struggling with the idea of being a mom, and that put a huge damper on our relationship. So the pregnancy center brought us closer. We realized at that point that we are not just a single mom and a dad. We're about to be a family. Tiffany was 5 months old when we got married. After we said our I do's, I went and grabbed her and walked her down the aisle with me.
When she was pregnant, I was there every day with her. After I would get off work, I would go to her house, and her parents took me in like one of their own, almost like they did for Brittany, And so after that, they had kind of shown me what it was like to be a Christian, what it was like to walk with God, and how to ask God for forgiveness, for, guidance and wisdom. And God was just working these weird things. I had never felt these nudges before from God to, read scripture or to pray before we eat or go to bed or anything. I never felt that before. So, her parents came over and asked us to get baptized. And that's when we decided to give our life to Christ. Being a dad is a huge responsibility, but it's the best responsibility. There's a lot of hope and grace in having children. There is such thing as forgiveness, and there's no such thing as a sin that's too big or a person that can't be saved, can't be forgiven.
There's hope, and there's Jesus. If you continue just to follow him and just look at all the wonderful things that he does instead of all the negatives, you can get through it. And there's hope. At the end of the tunnel, there's a light.